Howdy, guys, and welcome to night 41 of Big Brother Season 23 Overnight Feed Recaps. And welcome to Cliff Notes from outside the Big Brother house. All right, we had our veto ceremony yesterday, and yes, it was every bit as intense as I expected it to be. Now, we haven't obviously seen the actual video of it yet, but we saw the aftermath. So let's talk about that. Remember, Kyland is HOH. He had Derek F and Claire on the block. Well, a veto was used. Yes, indeed. Kyland used his veto, pulled Claire off the block, put Brittany on the block. Alyssa then had a second veto to use. She chose not to use her veto. So who is going out on Thursday? Well, theoretically, it's either Derek F or it's Brittany. But the reality is Brittany is the target. I think this is the end for Brittany. As many times as she's been on the block, this is going to be the final one. Of course, Brittany handled it with cool emotions and calm throughout the whole thing. Yeah, right. No, not a chance. We saw the feeds come back afterwards. She was upset, and reasonably so. I mean, no one wants to be put on the block, especially from a blind side. So Brittany's upset. She's feeling like she's been betrayed by Kyland, and we're going to talk a little bit about this evening. But yeah, I think this is the last week for Brittany that we're going to have in the house, and it's tough. Brittany, I'm going to miss you, my friend. All right, now things could change. Maybe I shouldn't be so certain. We'll see. We've got a few days. I think it's going to be a tough battle for though. So let's talk about some of the conversations that took place. First of all, let's talk Brittany and Claire in the backyard. Brittany is going over how she's going to campaign for the week. Now, remember, Claire has vocalized a few times that maybe it would be better to keep Brittany and get rid of Derek F. I think the Cookout Alliance is too strong. They're not going to let that happen. But Claire is interested in maybe helping Brittany sell herself and somehow save herself. So they're talking about campaigns, things to talk about. And Brittany's basically saying that she's going to tell everyone that she will be a shield for everyone else if she stays in the house, that she can help get big targets out of the house because she's willing to go for them. Now, this is the same argument that Christian used last week to a large degree. And it's also kind of the same arguments that we've already heard Derek X and Claire vocalizing this week as reasons why maybe they would want to keep Brittany over Derek F. So they've figured out the one opportunity to really sell Brittany. I just don't think it's going to be enough because of the presence of the Cookout Alliance. So we've got that. Brittany is talking some more. She is saying that Kyland apologized for apparently dragging all the former jokers in his veto speech. Apparently, and we haven't seen it yet, but apparently he had said something about, oh, the jokers can't win vetoes, or if you want to stay off the block, you need to win vetoes, and you've shown you can't do that. That's something along those lines. So theoretically, he has apologized for that. And supposedly, maybe he has also apologized for trying to tell Brittany how to campaign. Earlier, we had seen Kyland talking to Brittany. I think they were in that coral glass room, and he was telling her, look, don't start campaigning today. This was yesterday. He said, don't start campaigning today, and do not campaign against me. It's very condescending the way he was telling Brittany what she could and couldn't do with her being on the block. And she did not take it very well, nor did I. I thought it was a little over the top. She's on the block. You do whatever you have to do, Brittany, to fight through. And I got to say, of all the house guests in this house, the one who, when they win HOH, power absolutely goes to their head, got to be Kyland. I like Kyland in a lot of ways, but boy, he feels like he can dominate every scene in every situation as long as he's in HOH. So he tried to do that with Brittany. She's not happy. She is still talking about it even at this point in time to Claire and to a lot of other people. We've got Azah and Hannah talking. And Azah is saying that she's afraid that people are starting to identify the Cookout Alliance, that it exists. Hannah's saying, I'm not so sure. Derek X, he doesn't even know anything yet. He doesn't know. I'm not so sure. I think Derek X is knows more than he's letting on. He just may not be comfortable vocalizing to everyone else. I think Hannah is incorrect. I think people are starting to figure out the Cookout Alliance. It's just a matter of time. Azah has come up. She's come up with a very convoluted plan on how to protect the Cookout Alliance members. Excuse me. Everyone in the house is worried. We hear a lot of conversations yesterday about this power that's going to be in play for the high rollers next week. Remember, last week it was a veto derby. Kyland won an extra veto as a result of that. This week it's a random power. If someone pulls themselves off the block, someone can use a power. I guess someone can use a power to pull someone off the block, but it's a random spin of the wheel to determine who goes back in their place. Everyone's worried about that. Could screw up a whole lot of people's plans. So Oz's come up with a very convoluted plan on how to address that. It basically involves the Cookout Alliance winning the HOH and then turning around and putting two Cookout Alliance members on the block, and then have another Cookout Alliance member win this new random roulette power, which would result in a random replacement of one of the two Cookout Alliance members that are currently on the block. She's figuring if you do that, then with one Cookout as HOH, one holding the power, and two others already on the block, there's only two Cookout Alliance members that would be eligible for the spin of the roulette wheel to see who goes up in their place. So there'd be two Cookout Alliance members and four non-Cookout Alliance members. So they'd basically have a 2-in-1 shot that a non-Cookout Alliance member ends up on the block. Y'all got all that? Y'all got all that figured out? The end is that she wants to make sure that there's a non-Cookout Alliance member on the block, so all the Cookout Alliance can vote that person out. I get it. That seems like a whole lot of assumptions about who's going to win what and do what. They've got the votes right now. I think it's a lot more simple just to hope that they win the HOH, put up two non-Cookout members. Yeah, they've been trying to cover up the Cookout Alliance by putting up a Cookout Alliance member and a pawn and doing something like that. I think next week with this random roulette power, this is the 1 week where they may need to go ahead and put up two non-Cookout Alliance members, just so if one of them gets pulled down and you have this random assignment of someone else, that they know for certain there's still going to be at least one non-Cookout person on the block. So I think next week they're going to have to show their cards a little bit more. It may run a risk of even further exposing the Cookout Alliance, but I think they're going to have to do it. We'll see if they do indeed. But again, Oz's got this wild plan of how to make this stuff happen. I'm curious, is Ozza willing to be one of those two Cookout members who gets put up on the block as a pawn right off the bat? I'm guessing not. All right, another conversation. Claire's talking to Tiffany. She's telling Tiffany that Brittany is really upset because Kyland broke a deal with her. Now, well, here's the thing. This deal that Brittany has been talking about throughout the day and throughout the evening is that she had offered, if I recall, she'd offered Kyland 3 weeks of safety if he would protect her this week. He never agreed to it. He in fact said something like, I think deals are kind of weird. He never agreed to it, but somehow Brittany is thinking that he did. So she's been telling everyone that he betrayed her, that he broke a deal that they'd brokered. Nah, he never agreed to that deal. I've been a little rough on Kyland and the way he's handled his HOH, but from this standpoint, he's right. Brittany is wrong. There was no deal agreed to, at least not that I'm aware of, unless it happened later and I didn't hear about it. All right, so we've got that. Derek F is talking. He has continued to play defeated, acting like he's going home and doesn't care anymore. Just the woe is me kind of character. Of course, he knows the true target is Brittany, and that the Cookout Alliance is going to keep him safe. But he has continued to play this role, especially to Ozza and to Brittany, and is doing everything possible to keep covered up the fact that he knows what's going on, and it's not him going home this week. Brittany's going to be a little chapped when she finds out about it. And I'm wondering, goodbye messages. We're going to talk about that in a second. If someone couldn't come along at some point and say, hey, just so you know, Derek F and Ozza were very much aware of what was going on, Brittany, and are part of this alliance, and they were just stringing you along. It's time to start throwing some people under the bus in terms of these goodbye messages, in my opinion. All right, we've got Kyland and Sarah Beth talking. Kyland is saying that everyone thinks that Xavier and Tiffany are the most influential in the house. I agree. I absolutely agree with that assumption. And that he is also thinking that he's the third most influential person in the house. Here's the thing. I think being HOH does not equate to being influential. Sometimes having power makes people say that you're influential. I think Kyland doesn't have quite as much influence as he thinks he does, other than his HOH powers. But he's thinking he's got a lot of influence in the house right behind Tiffany and Xavier. Don't necessarily agree with that. Kyland is saying that Tiffany may have made a lot of Kyland's decisions for him this week. Why, yes, I believe that is the case as well, and it's nice of you to recognize that. Now, are you going to do something about it? Tiffany has played such a great game. She's been such a mastermind of so many moves. When are people going to identify that and start realizing that her resume, if she goes into a final two, is going to be extremely dangerous for anyone she is sitting up against. Yeah, we'll see. Kyland is saying also, or Sarah Beth is saying that she and Tiffany are a lot alike in that they both know everything that's been going on every week in the HOH. Well, I'll give that to Tiffany to some degree. Sarah Beth, I'm not sure she's quite as aware as she's maybe thinking she is, or at least as much as she's telling Kyland she is. There's a lot of stuff going on, Sarah Beth, that you are not aware of, my friend. All right, we've got Sarah Beth also talking, saying that she talked to Tiffany and Claire, which is a Jackpot Alliance, that she talked to them and that they were both leaning towards voting Brittany out of the house, both leaning towards voting Derek F out of the house, saving Brittany. But they really want to know what Kyland would want to do. And Sarah Beth is saying, I told them that you want Brittany out. They need to just shut that down. And I do think that's the way it's going to turn out. I think they start talking a little bit. They figure it could probably be a 7-1 vote to get out Brittany from the house. And I assume the assumption is that Azah would be that one vote to save Brittany. Everyone else would send her out the door. I could see that happening. All right, we've got Kyland going back over his conversation with Brittany. Apparently, he is still upset. Yeah, Brittany and Kyland have not been on good terms this weekend. And beyond even just him HOH and her on the block, it just seems like it's a little bit more than that. There's been a real breaking of trust. I'm not sure there was ever a whole lot, but they really do not seem happy with each other this week in particular. And I think I get a little more clue now after he talks. Apparently, he is still upset that in that HOH competition, Brittany had the first shot and she immediately paired Kyland and Sarah Beth against each other. She kind of took the first shot and went after the two of them. He still seems upset about that. And I think that may explain some of the conversations and actions and everything else have been taking place. So he is going over that conversation with Sarah Beth. He's saying that Brittany was trying to justify why she did that. Doesn't seem like he's buying it at all. Kyland is worried because he says when he talked to Brittany, she was very confident when they had their conversation, way too confident that he does not like it. Well, I don't know what to say, Colin. I guess a confident Brittany wasn't predicted by your Fruit Loops and M&M interrogation boards from your one-on-ones the night before. But he wasn't expecting her to be confident. He expected her to be very upset and everything. Brittany's keeping a brave face. She's the optimist. She's trying to pump herself up, saying, I'll do whatever it takes to survive and go for it. Don't ever give up, Brittany. Fight to the very end. But this could be the very end. All right, finally, almost finally, Sarah Beth is excited for the jury phase and goodbye messages. I wanted to talk about goodbye messages because we are in that part of it. She says that she's going to tell Brittany in her goodbye message to Brittany that if Brittany had just trusted and worked with Sarah Beth, she would have stayed. Well, no, that's not the way you approach it. First of all, don't tell a jury member what they did wrong and why they made it where they did on the block. Don't correct them and tell them all the things you should have done differently. Instead, compliment them, say they're out the door because they were such a danger, they were such a threat, or spend your time throwing someone else under the bus that you think you may face in a final two. Don't criticize the person that just made it to jury. They're going to be upset enough as it is. Compliment them or go after someone else instead. Second, don't tell other people your goodbye strategy. Even if it's someone you trust like Kyland, you don't tell others that. A goodbye message is the one thing that no one else in the house is going to know about until as long as they're in the house. Until they make it to jury, then they may share some information. But you don't tell what you're going to do in terms of goodbye messages to anyone else who is still in that house. It can make the difference between winning and losing when you're in that final seat going for $750,000. Derek F. and Azah are talking in the backyard. Azah is saying that the final three will be the two of them and Xavier, and that then Zaza saying, and Derek F., once we get to that final three, I'll take you to the final two. Not a chance that this comes true, but I admire the optimism. You keep up the confidence, and we'll see. Things could happen. But if I was a betting man, that would not be my bet for who's going to be the final three. But keep the faith. Absolutely keep the faith. All right, we've got Hannah and Xavier talking. Hannah is saying that she's thinking about switching her target from Alyssa to Sarah Beth next week because Alyssa is much more likely to go after Claire than is Sarah Beth. And while she's saying that, on the other screen, we've got Alyssa talking to Xavier and saying, look, if we nominate Tiffany and Claire, there's less blood on our hands. So yeah, Hannah's right, saying that Alyssa is certainly going to try to go after Claire, because we've got confirmation on the other screen. Claire's also telling Tiffany that she is not happy with how Kyland handled his one-on-ones, and that if this next week, if someone pulls out a bunch of Cheerios, she's going to just boycott. And she wants everyone else to do as well. I agree. No more of this stuff. I'll get on my soapbox. I'll talk for the next 20 minutes. But Kyland took it a bit far with some of the moves and the interviews he had during his one-on-ones. Hannah is asking Derek F. and Azah what they're going to be saying in their goodbye messages to Brittany and others. And again, keep that secret. Don't tell her, or make something up. Say, I'm going to drag this. I'm going to tell them how horrible they were. And I think you ought to do the same thing, Hannah. Be brutal. Go for it, man. Be brutal. Yeah, I wouldn't say anything. Back to Kyland and Sarah Beth and the HOH. Sarah Beth is saying that she wants to target Azah, but Kyland is suggesting that instead they go after Claire because of this random roulette power. He's saying, look, if Claire is a target next week, no one's going to try to use that random power to save her. So we run less risk that one of us accidentally ends up going up on the block instead. I'm calling it now. That random roulette power is not going to be used. I think whoever wins it is not going to use it. It's not going to have an effect on the game. I say that. It's already having an effect on the game, but it won't be put into play, I don't think, in the game. Claire's talking to Derek X. She's worried that if Sarah Beth goes up, that Kyland could end up with the Jokers instead of staying with the detectives. Remember, the detectives are Claire, Derek X, Tiffany, and Kyland. And so she's a little bit worried that at some point Sarah Beth is going to go, and Kyland may not stick with the detectives, but may go with the Jokers instead. I don't see it. I do not see Kyland working with Derek X and Azah going forward. I just don't buy it. Not with the current configuration of the house. But again, Claire knows a lot, but she doesn't know everything. She's been suspicious, I think. She's vocalized again the idea that there may be something along the lines of that Cookout Alliance. So if she figures that out, I think she may change her tune in terms of where Kyland would go and how that'd work. But right now, she's still thinking there's a possibility they could lose him if Sarah Beth went. Claire's talking to Derek X later. I mentioned as well about Sarah Beth. All right, Derek X is saying he doesn't want to win the next HOH unless he absolutely has to. Well, Derek X, I think the time has come where you absolutely have to win each and every HOH coming up because you're not a member of the Cookout Alliance. Now, knowing that he can't win each and every HOH, Derek X better hope he goes for a KC type run here towards the end of the game and switches between HOHs and vetoes for the next few weeks, or else Derek X is going to be at the top of a list that is growing shorter and shorter by the week. All right, finally, plans are being made for Big Brother Olympics today. I don't know. They're talking about having some kind of competitions, three-legged races, eating Oreos off people's foreheads. I don't know. The kind of things that you do when you're not on the block and you feel safe and you're bored in the house. I have a feeling Brittany may not be so eager to participate in the HOH Olympics or the Big Brother Olympics. But the others are bored. They want to do it. So we'll see if it happens. We've heard grand plans made before that never quite took place. I'm a little surprised that they still are going to have the backyard available today to do competitions like that, because I would have figured it'd be shut down as they start getting ready for the HOH. I don't know. What does that tell you about what the next HOH is going to be? Derek F., I said this was in. I mean, Derek F. mentioned at one point, said, he's fighting for this next HOH. He's going to do whatever it takes to win. But he's also worried that this could be the slip and slide HOH competition. And I think it's possible this could be the week for exactly that, Derek F. And having competed in slip and slide myself and having a few extra pounds on me, more power to you, my friend. It's going to be a tough one to win if it is slip and slide, but I'll be cheering you on. All right, finally, Hannah talking to the cameras before going to bed. She says she wants to win HOH. She'll then get out Sarah Beth. She wants to do that so she can add it to her resume. All I got to say is, what resume? She doesn't have a resume yet. If she wins HOH and gets out Sarah Beth, she starts a resume. But right now, Hannah has she's been in the house so far. So go for it, Hannah. I want to see some new HOH winners and see what you do with it. And start the resume up. So there you have it, guys. Emotional right after the veto ceremony. Brittany is upset. She's going to stay like that the rest of the week, and it's going to be a tough week for Brittany, and we'll see. We'll see if her emotions affect some of the other house guests in this house. I know Derek F is feeling bad, and I don't think that's an act. I think he truly is feeling bad. I think some other people are feeling bad as well at Brittany and what she's going through right now. I don't think it changes anything, but you never know. There are at least a few people who've made some whispers. So we'll see if that actually has any effect in the house. All right, guys, y'all have a great one. I will be back tomorrow, Wednesday morning. We'll talk about what happened overnight, see if anything has changed, if there's any new plans or conspiring going on. Until then, y'all have a fantastic Tuesday. Cheers, my friend, SKD143. Bye, guys.